Gentlemen, the winner of the 149th Belmont Stakes presented by Naira Bets was, of course, Tapwrit, and we're thrilled now to be joined by the winning connections. From the left to right up here, we've got George Isaacs. He's the general manager of Bridlewood Farms, and we got trainer Todd Pletcher. We have Jonathan Thomas, who's the trainer at Bridlewood, and then, of course, Robert LaPenta and Aaron Wellman of Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners. Thank you all for joining us. Todd, I'd love to start with you and just get your impressions of the race.
Well, it could not have unfolded any better. You know, we got exactly the position that we had talked about with Jose prior to the race, and you know, you got a beautiful trip. It couldn't have worked out any better.
And just your thoughts on managing to win 2 of the 3 Triple Crown races this year, and after what happened in Baltimore, if that adds any extra satisfaction to today.
Well, I mean, I think each of these races individually stand on their own as you know, major races and huge wins. You know, the Derby win was awesome, and you know, the ebbs and flows of this game are well documented, and you know, the last 5 weeks has been you know, the ultimate roller coaster for us. But you know, we felt really good coming in that both horses were doing very well, and we felt like that both horses suited the 1.5 mile distance, and you know, they had the right running styles, they had the right disposition, right pedigrees, and so just, you know, we were fortunate it fell into place.
Very good. Aaron, some thoughts from you, if you don't mind.
This is what we bought this horse for, was to try to win a classic, you know, and to be able to execute that game plan, an ambitious game plan. Like Todd said, we couldn't have drawn it up any better. You know, I think we all had a very clear vision of how this race was going to be run today, and it was just a matter of execution. We thought it would play out kind of like a turf race, or we were looking for a little bit of a turf trip today, in that we wanted to just draft in right behind the leaders with cover. Jose, keep him gathered. He's an interesting horse because he actually prefers to be in the thick of things and have horses surrounding him. He doesn't mind taking dirt. His last 2 races, he was sort of out in no man's land, and he didn't seem to appreciate that too much. So it all started at the draw when he drew down low. We were pleased, and you know, it's just been an incredible partnership, starting with Mr. and Mrs. Malone at Bridlewood, George, who runs the show there, Jonathan. You know, it's incredible what a team effort this has been, because it's just everybody has played a role here. Jonathan is the head trainer at Bridlewood. As soon as we bought him, went down to Bridlewood, and Jonathan broke him, taught him his early lessons, and he's obviously a Todd Pletcher disciple. So the transition was very smooth, and we probably interfered a little bit too much because of the high price tag leading up to his debut, and to say that that's how we drew it up, running dead last at Saratoga first time out, probably wouldn't be true. But after that, we turned it over to Todd and let him do what he does best, which is train racehorses. And you see the results today. And obviously, Mr. LaPenta has been here before. So, man, for a New Yorker to win the Belmont twice, that's pretty special. So,
And that's a perfect lead-in to Mr. LaPenta. Could we get some thoughts from you? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. You know, what an incredible day, what an incredible ride. You know, somebody asked me on my way in, you know, how this one compared to the Jataro win. You know, this was much more difficult. When we had Jataro, he was 38-1. The morning before the race, and you know, Lenny wrote a great article this past week, and I must have gotten 1,000 calls on it. And no one really thought he would win, but I told my wife that morning that I thought we had a chance to be second. And whatever happened, happened. Big Brown didn't run, and we ended up winning the race. But we had no expectations of winning. Everything building up to this, you know, the whole family, all of my friends, hundreds of people, loved this horse. And it put a lot of pressure on everybody. I mean, every night the phone was ringing, you know, 50 messages, and you know, we all felt confident that he was going to run a good race. Todd did a phenomenal job. You know, it's not easy for a horse to come back off of a race like the Bluegrass. What happened? What's wrong with this horse? A lot of the writers said he's no good. You know, he's never been any good. He ran a phenomenal race in the Derby. Didn't get enough credit for it. But this was a wonderful win. Good for New York. Good for me. Good for my family. Good for the whole team.
Todd, could you talk a little bit about Tapwrit's Derby and then his progression since then?
Well, like I've said all along, I think he ran a very sneaky good race in the Derby, and there's a lot made about the trouble at the start, and he got as much of that as anyone, and unfortunately, at that post position draw, we also thought, man, we drew perfect. 16's a great spot. It's been I think over the last decade or 20 years, the most successful post position, and as it turned out, it was the worst post position because Irish Warcry took a left leaving there, and then it was just a chain reaction from there. And he never.
We got him back today, though, Todd.
Yeah. So but despite that, he ran on pretty well. He was still closing at the end of the Derby, and we felt like right after that, the 5 weeks and coming to Belmont and preparing for the Belmont Stakes was going to be the right move.
Very good. Well, we'll have some questions for our Bridlewood guys, but first I want to open it up to the media in the room. Tim.
Todd, can you talk a little bit more about when you talked about the ultimate roller coaster in the last 5 weeks, how tough it was for everyone at the barn after you lost the Preakness, and then you getting ready for this one?
I mean, it's the nature of this business. You very seldomly just get to enjoy a win and not have a target right around the corner. And especially with the Derby winner, there's I think the 2 week turnaround between the Derby and the Preakness is a really short time for horses, but it's a pretty long 14 days for a horse trainer. And we really were hoping that Always Dreaming could take a shot at coming in for a Triple Crown try. I think that's every trainer's ultimate dream. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, man, if he wins, I'm worried about what we're going to do at Tapwrit. So it's all good today.
Todd, I know you'd like to win anywhere, but you just talk a little bit about what this place means to you, what Belmont says to your heart.
Well, I mean, this is our home base. This is where we live. This is where my children go to high school, and this is home. So it's extra special, and I think for Rags to Riches to be our first American Classic win, and it's a race that's been so good to us, and we've been very fortunate now to have won 3 and taken a couple of tough beats too. But it's just it seems for whatever reason to kind of suit our style well, and I think it's maybe just sort of the way we train, the foundation that most of these horses have over a long period of time, and we've found that the 5 weeks in between the Derby and the Belmont, or the Kentucky Oaks and the Belmont, is a good way to lead into it.
Frank.
Todd again. Todd, what are some of the reasons that Jose has been such a good fit for this horse? What has he brought to the equation?
Well, I don't think there's any secret that Jose's been a rising star for the last few years, and he's just a phenomenal rider. But the one thing that I think he suits our style of training, and he suits Tapwrit, is he's a pretty aggressive rider. He's good from the gate. He's good at getting horses in position, and generally that's the way most of our horses run, is they want to be in a tactical position. And he remained very confident in the horse even after the Bluegrass, and after the tough trip in the Derby, and we felt like that he had done everything right on the horse, and he deserved to stay with him, and he could not have ridden him any better today.
Aaron, could you please talk about what last year felt like at the Belmont, and how this year is a little bit different to you?
Why you got to bring that up now, Lenny?
I'm not going to mention what you said.
Nothing will take away the sting of that defeat. It's still a classic, and we came within a nose of winning it last year, so that stands on its own. I think Todd and I conversed after that race last year, and we said it doesn't get any nastier of a beat than that was last year. 50 yards from the wire, I don't think anybody in the building thought there was any way that horse was getting beat, and he did. But obviously, to be back in this position, we feel incredibly fortunate, incredibly blessed. This is the type of horse, the caliber of horse that we're looking to buy, develop, and manage for our partners. You know, as a partnership company, this is the type of experience we want to provide. I read an incredible Q&A with Dwayne Lucas this week, and they talked about his Triple Crown record, and you know, obviously, he had unprecedented success and wins, and he swung and missed a lot too. And I think Todd, you know, got a really bad rap for his Derby record going into this year in the past few years. But I think it's underestimated the value of getting owners to the big dance, to the classics. That's what, you know, a lot of people are in this for. And you know, this is a dream. You know, walking past the Belmont room and seeing all those winner's circle pictures over the years, you know, a great mentor of mine was Eddie Delahousse. See his picture up there, and now know that we have some involvement in a horse that's going to be etched in history. That's what it's all about, is making history and providing these experiences for our partners. So Destin was a nasty loss last year. But we feel incredibly fortunate to be back here this year as victorious.
Aaron, how was Eddie D a mentor of yours? Can you?
Growing up on the racetrack in Southern California, my parents are back here. They're to blame, you know, as the culprits for getting me involved in this crazy game. But it was a friendship with my family, my dad Mike, my mom Corey, and the Delahousse family when he came out from Louisiana originally, that blossomed. And Eddie D, just a gem of a guy, called me last night and wished me luck. And he really took me under his wing. And obviously a mentor to him was Bill Shoemaker, who was also very influential during my childhood. And you know, to be sitting here today and be able to talk about them and give them some credit and my parents credit, and couldn't be doing this without my wife and family, and of course all these amazing partners. My business partner Brian Spearman has been incredibly supportive for the past several years, and I look at all these faces over here of our racing partners, and it's just very special. You know, this is really the pinnacle, and we're thrilled and very humbled and honored to be in this position.
George and Jonathan, maybe we can get you guys just to talk about Tapwrit's early days. But Jonathan, I understand you helped to pick him out.
Yeah, this was a team effort from the start. That's what makes it special. I mean, we all basically ran into each other and loved this horse and figured out a way to get him bought. And luckily, you know, Mr. LaPenta came in and we had the ammunition to get it done. But, you know, like Aaron said, we're constantly trying to get these upper tier horses and just get them right and turn them over to this guy and, you know, try to win these sort of races. So it's very gratifying for two reasons. One, this has been an incredible partnership. When things kind of went, you know, not quite how we planned it, no one freaked out or wanted to change the course of, you know, what we set out to do, and everything's been very organic. And then two, having worked for Todd, to be able to develop a horse like this and send it to him is really meaningful.
What was it about him that was so appealing when you set eyes on him?
Just his athleticism, just the frame and just presence, all those little nuances to picking a horse out. But it gives you a lot of confidence when Aaron's an excellent judge of a horse. George is a very good judge of a horse. And when we all come together, unsolicited, it kind of gives, you know, us confidence to raise your hand for 7 figures. These guys work hard for their money, so, you know, but we had the confidence to step in there and get it done.
George, is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, there's really not a whole lot to add. You know, it's, you know, a very good horse and great management and a great trainer. It's a recipe for success. And, you know, Mr. Malone bought Bridlewood in 13, and, you know, he promised Jonathan and I that he would give us the capital to do our job properly. And if you look at his business career, that's what he does. He provides big working capital to excellent management, gets out of their way and lets them do their job. And that's what we're seeing today. And I'm quite sure this is going to be the beginning chapter of the new Bridlewood, not the middle chapter. Thank you.
Any other questions from in the room? Yeah, Tim.
How about Patch?
Yeah, Todd, can you give us a quick comment on Patch?
I thought he ran great. I was just watching the replay there, and he was still closing at the end. You know, we felt like that having another race under his belt in the Derby was very helpful, and we talked about how stoutly he was bred for the 1.5 miles, and you got to love a horse like that has as much heart and character as he does, and he's deserving of a good finish in the race, and I think he's the kind of horse that will continue to improve.
Todd, now that you've got the Derby winner, the Belmont winner, the third place finisher in the Belmont.
Now I would say everyone will start picking on my Preakness record, right?
With the second half of the season coming up, what do you do with them all?
We'll enjoy this for now, and then I really hope I'm in a position where I have to make some decisions on where all these horses are going to run this summer, and who's going to go to the Haskell and who's going to go to the Jim Dandy, and I think the Travers would be on everyone's mind. So yeah, it's a fortunate position to be in, and we'll hope we have those decisions to make this summer.
Just going to check real quick if we have questions in the press box.
While you're doing that, one thing that I just wanted to add, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Somebody that deserves some credit also that hasn't been mentioned. Actually, Eddie Castro was instrumental in developing this horse. He broke his maiden down in Florida, won a stake on him at the end of his 2-year-old year, and knowing that we were hoping to get into the classic route, we all just sort of, mutually agreed that, we were going to get Jose at that time, but it shouldn't be overlooked what Eddie did, for the horse in those 2 very important races to close out his 2-year-old year. So he certainly deserves credit. And, Jonathan spoke a little bit about nuance. One thing that, won't be talked about today, but speaking of the team effort, after Jose worked Tapwrit last week, he came up with a really good suggestion to open up his blinkers a little bit and put some holes in there. So Todd, toyed around with it, and I'm not sure if it made a difference today, but those little things, might have been the difference between him sort of continuing to chase Irish War Cry as opposed to going by him. So, I think all those things deserve a little credit as well.
Thank you for that. Jose rode the 12th race, but hopefully he'll join us here shortly.
Did I do any good in the 12th race, by the way?
I didn't see. I don't know. Any other questions for these guys?
I just want to know about the goatee now. You say that off you won. There are 2 of us, so no more goatee.
Excellent question about Todd's goatee.
You better ask Tracy.
We'll continue goatee off for the moment. Yeah.
Goatee off.
That was the equipment change that made the difference. So congratulations to the Connections of Tapwrit, winner of the Belmont Stakes. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.